This episode is brought to you by Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus has movies. So many movies. The movies you've seen 1,000 times and could watch 1,000 more. Iconic movies your friends can't believe you haven't seen. New movies, classic movies, new takes on classic movies. So whether you're into Top Gun or The Naked Gun, Mean Girls or Mission Impossible, Smurfs or Sonic the Hedgehog, there's a mountain of movies to discover on Paramount Plus. Start streaming today.
Welcome back to another edition of the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. It's me, Len Testa, and this is our show for the week of Schmurz Day, January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. On the show today, news, surveys, and in listener questions, who would pay the outrageous sum of $5 for dinner? Then in our main segment, Jim gives us the history of Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats in Adventureland. Let's get started by bringing in the man who wishes Monster Truck meant the same thing as Clown Car. It's Mr. Jim Hill. Jim, how's it going?
It's going well, Len. And by the way, for you Monster Truck fans, we are actually coming up on a significant anniversary. The first real Monster Truck Bigfoot made its debut in 1979. Bob Chandler started with, I want to say it was a 1974 Ford F-250. And he started actually in 1975 and kept tinkering and eventually decided, you know what this car needs, or this truck needs, is 48-inch tires. And, that's how the first Monster Truck Bigfoot was born.
I mean, I imagine the 48-inch tires have to be specialty things for, like, bulldozers or something, right? Or some sort of, like, construction equipment?
To be honest, Len, for me, what has always fascinated me about the Monster Truck is, again, it's all big on the outside, but then when you get inside and the fact that this thing might roll over, so let's put it in a roll cage. It's kind of the reverse of the TARDIS from Doctor Who. It's like big on the outside, tiny on the inside.
Yeah. And doesn't the driver sit in the middle as opposed to the right or the left? Yeah, because for safety reasons. Yeah.
Just again coming up on an anniversary, so go out and crush a small car in its honor. So.
I'm headed to Disney Springs when we're done here. I might do that anyway. We'll see.
There we go.
All right, Jim, let's do a quick shout out to our Patreon subscribers. Thanks to Easily Reachable Impossible Conclusion, Jeff Kelly, Alicia McCollin, Scott Wortman, Joshua Ware, J. Dark Green, John Clandle, and Phantom 23. Jim, these are the seasonal Imperial Stormtroopers working on the First Order's Star Destroyer orbiting Batuu. They say everyone looks forward to today, when Lieutenant Beck and Kylo Ren take over the Star Destroyer kitchen to make Hoppin' John like an old married couple, while General Hux makes chips and dips for the football games. True story.
Speaking of tiny, that galley. Teeny.
Tiny, very small. Yeah.
There we go.
All right, a quick reminder, Jim, our friend Bono might think nothing changes on New Year's Day, but in this case it has. We've moved the show exclusively to Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, and don't forget to close down your Bandcamp subscriptions after that. All right, on to the news. The news is sponsored by Touring Plans. Touring Plans helps you save time and money at theme parks like Walt Disney World. Check us out at touringplans.com. All right, Jim, some quick news. Over the holidays, Genie Plus sold out at Hollywood Studios at the new $37 per person level, and that's the first time that's happened.
That tells you how many bodies are on property, more to the point, how many people really want to get on Rise.
And speaking of Rise, individual Lightning Lane sold out today, the day that we're recording this, in 23 minutes.
Okay.
And then the ride went down.
Oh, no, I was about to ask. All right. And seriously, again, putting on your Touring Plans hat, how many hours per day on average?
2 hours a day on average. Yeah, just under 2 hours a day on average. Yeah. Oh. Amazing stuff. A bit of good news, though, in the parks. So I've been, running around the parks all week. Last month, we mentioned that Disney had banned third-party tours inside the parks. And in the same article, and this was a Business Insider article, they quoted a Disney spokesperson who said that DAS abuse had seen an uptick. And I mention this because it looks like that during the holidays, Disney started checking DAS use a bit more closely to ensure that the person who booked the DAS was actually going in the group to ride.
Oh.
And I say this, I think this is what's going on, because I saw several groups turned away from using the Lightning Lane when they couldn't show the cast member at the Lightning Lane that the person with the DAS was actually in the group. So at the studios, for example, I saw a group of all young men get turned away from the Lightning Lane when none of them answered to the name Kaylee. that popped up on the Magic Basket. Yeah, kind of a giveaway. Anyway, but I in asking around to some of our friends at work, apparently making sure that the person who has the dazzes in the group is a point of emphasis, if you will, this holiday season. Oh. So that's good.
That's an interesting workaround for Daz. I mean, using that as the filter as opposed to, what exactly are we talking about for your disability? So
right.
That's clever. That's clever.
Yeah. So pretty smart. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. We're continuing to count how many people are using the lightning lanes and trying to figure out whether the light is turning green or blue, so we can kind of differentiate the two groups that are using the lightning lane. We'll see. We should have more information in a little bit. Anyway.
Okay, poor Chrissy. Is she sitting there doing this, or
she is. We have a few people in a few parks doing it simultaneously. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is raining today, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to surveys. Jeff sent in a holiday themed survey that I don't think we've seen before, and this one is for Epcot's Festival of the Holidays. And Jim, I want to get your input here on why Disney may be asking these questions. So the first question is did you notice any holiday elements such as decorations, holiday themed attractions, or holiday themed entertainment during your recent visit to Epcot on a particular day? The answer is yes or no. I don't know what happens if you answer no. I guess it's a very short survey at that point.
Yeah. Follow-up question. Hey, what exactly is your prescription? All right.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
did you bring your dog with you into the park?
Well, yeah. Did your seeing eye dog happen to notice any holiday elements?
There we go.
So Jeff answered yes. And then the survey asked for ratings for things like holiday decor, holiday dressed characters, shopping and merch, entertainment, and food and bev. But then it got very specific and asked for ratings on things like, what did you think of the Odyssey Pavilion, where you found Santa and food? What did you think of Candlelight Processional? And then they gave the specific Candlelight Processional narrator. I didn't know that they were actually doing surveys with Candlelight Processional narrators before. But they were even asking for things like, did you try the kids' chalk art? What did you think of that? What about the art in performance, the live entertainment? The attraction overlay for Living with the Land, Olaf's scavenger hunt, the holiday storytellers, and then they asked if you use the printed festival passport booklet. And I understand the last one, because if no one's using it, they don't have to print them, which saves money, right?
Yep. What is intriguing about this list, and remember, we have only just this month had the construction walls come down around Dreamers Point and gotten to see the new lighting package.
Oh, right.
You have to remember that Disney always works on a calendar that is months ahead of time. Even as we speak, they are 2 months into preparation already for the holiday season of 2024. And if you're somebody at Epcot who's prepping your first ever holiday decorative package for this brand new area, it's a notion of, okay, so what did people pay attention to elsewhere in the park? What got a strong reaction? What did not get a strong
Right, because this was at this point, we're all but 1 week left in the holiday period. So they have a decent idea of what people like. Oh, yeah, so they're probably planning for next year. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, just going to be intriguing to see this time next year, what we're doing down in that part of the park, and there's an effect of that Santa hat on Walt, not a Santa hat on Walt. What are we doing here? So
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I'm gonna. I haven't run by Epcot since the walls were down. I'm gonna do that shortly, and then we'll talk about it. Also, you mentioned a bunch of stuff debuting. Remind me to talk about the surveys results we're getting for Luminous, A Symphony of Us. All right.
Okay. Cool.
All right. On to listener questions. Our friend Sean sent in a copy of the Blue Bayou restaurant menu from 1977, Jim. And this is a look back in time. The Blue Bayou soup du jour, I don't know what it is, but they serve it every day, was 50 cents. And a cup of New Orleans clam chowder was 65 cents for a cup. Or if you wanted a bowl, Jim, a whopping 95 cents.
When Sean shared this, it's the prices that kind of hit you right in the face, just sort of like, wow. That said, though, if we compare $1977 to $2,023.
Mm-hmm.
A dollar then, or is the equivalent of $5.07 today.
All right, so we multiply. Let's make the math easy and multiply by 5. So that means our $4 chicken dinner becomes a $20 chicken dinner. This is the boneless chicken leg stuffed with rice and ham, topped with a chablis sauce of baby shrimp and mushrooms, served with mashed potatoes and vegetable for $20, Jim, all day long.
Yeah, okay.
Or God forbid, Jim, we get the veal cordon bleu for $4.35, which would be what, $22, call it. And it's nice to know that in the fine print at the bottom, all entries are served with roll and butter. But did you see the desserts?
Oh, you're killing me. Yes.
Louisiana pecan pie. What do you think the price is? 75 cents.
75 cents. Yeah, and cheesecake supreme with strawberries again. It's at just 75 cents. I mean,
if you wanted the Boston cream pie, if you needed to save some money, it was 70 cents. Or the seasonal fruit for 65. Amazing. But this is stuff though that we just don't see anymore. So like for hors d'oeuvres, a supreme of seasonal fruit grenadine. It's 85 cents. I don't know what it is, but I think it involves clear Jello. It has to, right?
Yes. You know that some sort of hoof-based the entree. So,
Food was just different. That the salade mignon, a papaya filled with tiny shrimp and garnished with tomato, cucumber, hard-boiled egg, and artichokes with blue Bayou dressing. I need to talk to someone who ate this. It sounds unusual. Like, okay, first you get a papaya, then you fill it with shrimp. Like, where are you going with that? Like, and the irony, the supreme irony here is nobody really ate at the Blue Bayou for the food. They ate there for the view. They ate there for the atmosphere. Yeah.
They watched people float by on their way to the waterfall and the talking, skull. I mean, that was the charm and the thrill of eating in this particular eatery. But those prices, oh my God! So
Sean sent in this bit of imagined dialogue, and it's he says, "I'll have the veal cordon bleu," and then the waiter says, "Sir, you realize that will cost you $4.35? Perhaps you would like the chicken." Fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Also in listener questions, a bunch of folks wrote in to correct our naming of the holiday-themed park in Indiana. It's Holiday World, not Holiday Land. And Jim, I think that explains the coal in our stockings this year.
Yeah.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Mr. Claus is unforgiving. But on the other hand, again, we have to get out to this place to ride the good gravy coaster.
I'm all about it. Let's do it.
How many times in life do you get to ride in a gravy boat without involving several alcoholic beverages?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
So.
All right. Question from Laurel, who asks, who says, a question for Jim. Can Tim Burton comfortably retire on just the royalties from the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack? Because that thing is everywhere now.
I would love to be able to say yes, but remember that Nightmare Before Christmas only got made at Disney because Tim had made that when he had written the original proposal for this half-hour-long TV special when he was still working at Walt Disney Animation.
He was an employee?
He was an employee, so... I'm sorry, most of the money that's made off of Nightmare goes straight into Disney's coffers. In fact, I have been told repeatedly that Disney has gone to Burton looking for a sequel, and and it's just the effect of, no, you guys have enough of my money. Just sort of like.
Can you make a sequel using the same terms under the first movie? I'm busy that week.
There we go.
Last week, we read an email from Nick, who works at the Orlando Science Center, about the dinosaurs that Disney donated to the center years ago from the Animal Kingdom. And our intrepid field reporter, Christina, visited the Orlando Science Center this week and said the dinosaurs are indeed fantastic. And she even met Nick, who is a star in his own right. So thank you, Nick, for that.
Very, very cool. Okay.
Also on last week's show, Jim, we talked about how Disney once considered a Christmas-themed attraction in the UK pavilion based on the Charles Dickens classic A Christmas Carol. And Asim sent in a Muppets Christmas Carol meme in which Ebenezer Scrooge opens a window on Christmas morning and shouts, "You there, boy, what's the price of Genie Plus at the Magic Kingdom today?"
Oh, I see. That's my Christmas card for next year.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
Totally going to be it.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Jim gives us the history of Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats in Adventureland. We'll be right back.
Welcome to 2024. So what's your resolution for the new year? Mine, to be honest, is to tidy up, both here at the house and as well as out there in the digital realm. And toward that end, man, it is so easy to get a digital subscription going, whether it's for a streaming service or for a magazine or a newspaper. I mean, just yesterday, Nancy signed up for a full year of New York Magazine, largely because they do all sorts of articles about the Hallmark movies, and Nancy does love her Hallmark hunks. Anyway, we were talking about setting up digital subscriptions, which sometimes we then forget about, and you'd be amazed how quickly the monthly charges that are associated with those things can start to add up. That's why I'm so glad I've got Rocket Money. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that finds and cancels your wanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills. And what's really great about Rocket Money is, well, I can now see all of my subscriptions in one place. And if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with just a tap. I mean, imagine that. You never have to get on the phone with customer service ever again. I just hate the runaround you get from those guys, the hours that you have to spend on hold while listening to that music and repeatedly hearing that message, "Your call is important to us." If my call was really so important to you guys, why do we then have to spend 20 minutes waiting on hold? Wouldn't you honestly prefer saving money to wasting time? Then let me point out here, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year, with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/DisneyDish. That's rocketmoney.com/DisneyDish. One more time, for those of you who maybe got a little too happy this year's New Year's Eve party, rocketmoney.com/DisneyDish. We thank them for sponsoring today's show.
This episode is brought to you by Marqeta. When it comes to your payments provider, you can't afford to compromise. Marqeta's modern payment solutions flex with your business without the trade-offs. Stable and agile, secure and innovative, scalable and configurable. If they say you can't have it all, don't believe them. Your business demands more. Choose a payments provider that delivers more. Choose Marqeta. Visit marqeta.com/Spotify to learn more.
Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
And we're back. All right, Jim. We've had a few new things pop up in Walt Disney World this year, and we've had a few things go away as well. We remember the big things, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think about it. That you go out, you and your family go on vacation to Walt Disney World. And of course, you remember the first time you ride the brand new thrill ride like Tron Light Cycle Run.
Yep.
Or, we talked about just a few minutes ago about the brand new nighttime show over at Epcot, Luminous, The Symphony of Us. But, but what's interesting, at least to me, is as time passes, it's the smaller things that happen on your trip that now start to seem important. I mean, for example, think about hanging out on the balcony at some place like Bay Lake Tower with a cup of coffee. Family's still asleep, but you're the one out there watching the monorails roll by and the boats, glide along, Seven Seas Lagoon.
Oh, yeah.
Or, when your dad surprised you and sprang for one of those oversized balloons on Main Street, USA, Or when you and your brother competed against one another in Adventureland as you played Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boat game.
I spent many a dollar there, Jim. Many a dollar.
Well, no, that's the thing. That's why we're going to talk about this today, because even though it's been closed for more than 11 years now, it was actually torn out in September of 2012 to make room for more stroller parking for folks who were queuing up for the Jungle Cruise. Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boat still has a lot of fans who, it turns out, will pay a pretty penny to get that chunk of their childhood back. So how did Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boat come to be built in Adventureland at the Magic Kingdom? This story actually starts out on the West Coast, not at Disneyland Park, mind you, but rather at the Disneyland Hotel in the late 1960s. Now, we actually did a 3-part or a 4-part series last year about the Disneyland Hotel, and you folks may recall Len and I talking about the seaports of the Pacific.
Right, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and this is when Jack Rather, who owned and operated the Disneyland Hotel at the time, he took that area at the centermost part of the hotel, the space between the Marina, the Sierra, and the Bonita Towers, and turned it into a maritime-themed entertainment complex. And we talked at length about this, Len, so we're not going to go into the details.
There was like a boat show or something, like a huge boat show.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do when you go to the Disneyland Hotel. You know, you want to be able to take some time to price a 40-foot cabin cruiser, which, by the way, is parked in the pool at the center of the hotel.
Sure.
But again, the whole idea here was that Jack was creating an area, an entertainment complex, because remember, this is still the time when Disneyland during the off season is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays. And Jack was looking for ways to keep people at the hotel. So one of the ways that he kept people at the hotel was the remote controlled tugboat game. Now, the idea here was that you could pump a couple of quarters into a freestanding console that had a ship's wheel and a throttle, which then gave guests control over one of 22 miniature tugboats that operated in a pool at the hotel. And
this sounds remarkably familiar, Jim.
And these things were good size, by the way, Len. They were 34 inches long, 16 inches wide, and 11 inches tall. And guests could then steer them around a scale model of the Queen Mary, which, by the way, Jack Rather also owned and operated. That was down in Long Beach Harbor. And again, just a fun 10 or 15 minutes, a way to kill time at the hotel. All right. Anyway, January of 1988, the Walt Disney Company buys the 84 acres around Disneyland Park that the Rather Corporation owns. And this includes the Disneyland Hotel. Michael Eisner goes over and does a walkthrough. Because, his goal is to have them change the Disneyland Hotel into a more Walt Disney World-like resort.
Okay, makes sense, sure.
But while he's there, Michael sees the tugboat game and just offhandedly asks somebody at the hotel, well, how much does that make? And it's like, it makes that much?
These precious boats. Wait, how much do they rip those things out? How much can they possibly make? Oh, these precious boats.
Well, exactly. Okay, so but again, Eisner, much like Walt, never forgets anything. Okay, so we jump to the mid 1990s, and this is when the Walt Disney Company has decided that all aspects of that corporation now have to become profit centers, which is tough to do when you're a place like Adventureland at the Magic Kingdom. And you got rides and shows like the Jungle Cruise, Pirates of the Caribbean, Sunshine Pavilion, and the Swift Family Treehouse. But these are old, established businesses. And, the company is now looking for new revenue streams to the park. And Adventureland Plaza has a surprising amount of open, undeveloped real estate.
What year is this?
This is,
mid-90s.
We want to talk 95.
Okay, all right. So we're pre Magic Carpets of Aladdin.
There we go. All right, that doesn't open till May of 2001.
Okay.
But on the other hand, Michael Eisner remembers the tugboat game that he saw during his walkthrough at the Disneyland Hotel in January of '88, and supposedly suggests to the Imagineers that, can we do a Jungle Cruise themed version of that? And now, interesting part of the story, Len, the Imagineers design Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boat Cruise, but they didn't fabricate it. That work was farmed out to a company called Cinnabar, Florida, which was and still is an Orlando-based company based on McLeod Road that describes itself as a full-service provider to the entertainment industry, including theme parks, television shows, and ads, movies, museums, and other special venues. We bring your creativity to reality.
Oh, Cinnabar. I haven't heard of them.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to shine the spotlight on them, because they're the ones who ultimately made this beloved, thing at the park. So
Okay.
Cinnabar takes the Imagineers' designs and then creates this surprisingly sturdy setup right next to the exit of the Jungle Cruise, which, by the way, is kind of the ingenious part of Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats. So it's the first thing guests see once they get off of the Jungle Cruise. And if they enjoy that experience and want to extend their Jungle Cruise fun, well, it just takes a handful of tokens. On the other hand, if you're a family member who's like, I don't want to do the Jungle Cruise, so everybody else gets on the boat, you're stuck in the area. It's like, oh, there's this thing. All right. I take some money over to the machine, and you couldn't just pump quarters into this thing. You had to put $1 or $5 into the machine, and then it spit out tokens that you could then feed into it.
Right.
So they got people basically coming and going. And I won't lie, this is basically a copy of the tugboat game at the Disneyland Hotel. Each radio-controlled boat was steered by a ship's wheel that stood on a console facing the small pool where the Junior Jungle Cruise boats puddled around in. By the way, love the sign for this Adventureland attraction. It's basically 4 skulls piled on top of one another, on top of a life preserver that says,
the life preserver makes it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, but again, it took 2 tokens to play, and you then had your choice of 16 different control stations facing the tiny pool.
Yep.
And like I said, there was a ship's wheel and a throttle, and
for each one of them, yeah, all 16.
There we go. And you knew which one. There was a number on the console that corresponded to an individual boat that was on the water, and was, very easy to get the hang of.
Yeah.
Adults and kids enjoyed Junior Jungle boats. Also, very profitable. So profitable, in fact, Len, that the Disneyland Hotel, which had ripped out its tugboat game as part of the Disneyfication of that hotel. I mean, this was when the Marina, Sierra, and Bonita Towers became the fantasy, adventure, and frontier wings of that resort. They actually revisit this idea in the 1990s. So December of 99, the Safari Adventure, which was subtitled A Remote Jungle Cruise, opened at the Disneyland Hotel along with the Lost Bar. I have to say, this version was somewhat more elaborate than the one built at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. And by the way, this was built by a different company, Thola Productions, rather than Cinnabar. Had a beautiful miniature recreation of the Jungle Cruise building at Disneyland right at Water's Edge, and lots of honestly cool effects, like an elephant that sprayed water out of its trunk to extinguish a fire, likewise a fierce gorilla that guarded a rope suspension bridge. And
yeah, one of the things I remember about this ride is that it had interactive elements. So like if you steered your boat through the series of obstacles, at least in Florida, you could make things happen, like a volcano erupt and other things around. And it's sort of predates or is contemporaneous to the first attempts at Kim Possible World Showcase Adventure, where you could actually control things in the park by doing something. Yeah. Also, the boats could go backwards, which was super useful.
Again, it was just so intuitive. I mean, you had your ship's wheel and your throttle that you could toggle back and forth. I mean, and again, it only took a couple of minutes of doing that, where it's like, oh, okay, I know what to do here. But long story short, it just 5 to 10 minutes out of your day at the Magic Kingdom, but it made a big
for a couple bucks. Yeah, it was fun.
But again, all good things must come to an end. The Disneyland Hotel version of this attraction, again, that was the Safari Adventure, that closed in 2010, so the Lost Bar could then be transformed into Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar.
Okay. I mean, and we understand that move from a revenue perspective, right? Because Trader Sam's prints money.
Oh God, yeah, and don't get me wrong, that the Safari Adventure with the sale of those tokens did well, but not
alcohol well.
Not alcohol well.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
Whereas the original in Orlando, Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats, that closed September of 2012. Well, that was largely because the thinking at the time was the theme parks needed to do more to capitalize on Disney's then thriving Pirates of the Caribbean film franchise, which is why the Pirates Adventure Treasure of the Seven Seas interactive game went live in Adventureland of the Magic Kingdom in May of 2013. That featured, 5 different treasure hunts around the land?
Around the land, yeah. And it definitely disperses people around and gives them something to do. The thing that I'm a little bit surprised about, Jim, is that Disney would take out a revenue-generating thing for something that's free, which is what a Pirate's Adventure is.
Well, now, where this gets interesting is it was kind of 2 bites of the same apple. I mean, you're right. The Pirate's Adventure Treasure of the Seven Seas was a freebie. But also remember what else, they did there, which is they actually took a good chunk of the tiny little pool that Junior Jungle Boats operated in and turned that into stroller parking.
Right. They pushed out that little landing by Jungle Cruise to make the stroller parking. So they got 2 things for one.
And remember, we had also, in between that time, we had built the Flying Carpets of Agrabah.
Right.
Previously, there had been plenty of room for stroller parking, and now suddenly that space was at a premium.
Oh, got it. Okay, so the addition of Magic Carpets got rid of the stroller parking. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
But anyway, what's the line from the Joni Mitchell song, Big Yellow Taxi? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. That's what basically happened.
They paved Shrunken Ned's and put up a parking lot. See ya.
There we go. Okay, so again, Junior Jungle Boats in Orlando and Safari Adventure in Anaheim, relatively short-lived, but again, still fondly remembered. In fact, the kids who played these games while vacationing at Walt Disney World while staying at the Disneyland Hotel are now paying big bucks to reclaim this part of their childhood land. For example, Control Council with a ship's wheel and throttle. By the way, on the other side, it reads, Jungle Expedition Skipper Training, established 1854. And by the way, for years now, people have been debating, what's the significance of the 1854? That's evidently when Stanley went looking for Livingston.
Oh, so it's an actual historical reference. That's fantastic.
But anyway, one of these recently came up for auction. Len, the starting bid was $1,500, and it was expected, given the fierce competition for them, it would go for at least $5,000.
Wow.
More to the point, there was an episode in season 15 of Pawn Stars where someone came into the...
I remember this.
There
okay,
we go. Okay.
All right.
Okay, so you could walk us through here. So somebody walks into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop.
And they had one of the Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats, right?
They did. I
forget which park it was from.
I want to say he was talking that it seemed to be this one was from the Safari Adventure ride at the Disneyland Hotel, but Rick Harrison, as he always does, brings in an expert to evaluate this piece of Disney animal. But what I love, Len, is they then take the boat to one of the hotels on the Las Vegas Strip and drop it in the pool.
Because their own pools aren't going to be good enough. They need to bring it to a Vegas casino pool.
So I mean, what I love is you look in the background and there's somebody who's been overserved the evening before, sort of like dead on a lounge, as they test the boat in the pool there.
And it worked, right? If I recall correctly,
it worked beautifully. I mean, the rudder worked. It could go forward. It could go backwards. It zoomed through the pool. And so it was like, the expert was like, oh, Rick, just, this thing is worth at least $7,000. And of course, Rick being Rick immediately turns to the person who's looking to pawn it.
I'll give you 25 cents.
There we go.
Best I can do is $1.50.
Well, I think Rick's opening offer was $4,000, and that they eventually got it up to $4,300.
Which still, I mean, I wonder what Disney paid for those things. But $4,300 for a working piece of Disney in-park memorabilia, especially something as big as that.
Yep,
that's not a bad price.
Now, speaking of which, if you want to see one of these things in real life today, you can go to the Skipper Cantina at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. And if you look among the artifacts that are on display in this restaurant,
right,
you will find the Molopole Marie, which will give you some idea how, actually big these Junior Jungle Boats actually were.
Right.
Now, as for Shrunken Ned himself, who, by the way, his full name was supposedly Colonel Nedley Lostmore, he lives on, sort of. as a totem inside of Trader Sam's Grotto at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort.
Really?
Yeah, and in fact, as I understand it, this item there in the bar was created by Imagineer Brandon Kayla, and in fact, I think Brandon actually did the voice of the Colonel. So we have to check this out. Again, I've never been able to actually physically make it into the grotto. I'm always sent out to the patio, but someday I'm going to get in there and see this thing.
There you go.
By the way, if you ask Disneyland fans, they'll tell you that they preferred their version of Shrunken Ned, who used to live in a fortune-telling machine that was located in the South Seas Trader store at that theme park. Imagineer Eddie Sato designed this machine. This was kind of a tribute to, you remember the pirate red thing that was in the exit of the Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean? Yeah, fortune red?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this was in that style. You'd pump a few quarters in, and this was supposed to be the jungle's only self-serve witch doctor. And, you could get one of 12 cards that sort of told your fortune. And by the way, this is another one of the artifacts you can find if you look carefully at the displays inside of Skipper Cantina. On one of the bulletin boards there is one of, I guess, instead of fortune cards, they called them prescription cards that Shrunken Ned used to dispense from that machine.
So I should take a picture of it and bring it to CVS and see what happens?
There we go.
That's what I'm hearing, Jim. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay. They love that right there at the counter.
I'm sure.
Okay. But again, look, folks, we're not talking about the biggest and grandest attraction at the Disney parks here. But again, based on the prices the theme park fans are willing to pay to own a chunk of Shrunken Ned's Junior Jungle Boats or the Safari Adventure, it's clearly still fondly remembered and missed to this day.
Oh, fantastic story. Thank you, Jim, for doing that. I appreciate it.
I can't tell you the number of times I stood there and watched people, drive boats into the spears. It's just sort of like...
It was a lot of fun. I miss it to this day every time I walk by.
Yeah, I get that.
All right, folks. That's going to do it for our show today. You can help support our show by subscribing over at patreon.com/JimHillMedia, where we're posting exclusive shows every week. Our latest show is behind-the-scenes stories, photos, and video from the construction of Disney MGM Studios from Imagineer Jim Scholl, who was there during the whole thing. Check it out at patreon.com/JimHillMedia. On next week's show, Jim tells us the history of California Screamin' at Disney California Adventure. You can find more of Jim at jimhillmedia.com and more of me, Len, at touringplans.com. We're produced spectacularly by Eric Hersey, who will be astrally projecting himself to the 2024 Iowa Metaphysical Fair beginning Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at the Iowa State Fairgrounds just off Grand Avenue in beautiful downtown Des Moines, Iowa. While Eric's doing that, please go onto iTunes and rate our show and tell us what you'd like to hear next. For Jim, this is Len. We will see you on the next show.